Oh, yeah. We are back. What week is it? 8?
Yes. Week 7.
Lose track.
Week 7.
Week 7.
Week 7 feels like week 12.
Yeah. Well, when you lose as much as I do, it's pretty brutal. So
you get used to it after a while, though.
I mean, I just so we're at that point in the season when I look at my team and I'm like, I need to make trades. And then I'm like, who can I get? And I start scrolling through people's rosters. And I'm like, maybe I can get this guy. But then, who am I actually trading? I have one good person. And so it's like, okay, well, that guy's going to have to be thrown in there, And so it's like trying to figure out a balanced trade, is tough at this point in the season.
You have 4 viable assets. Josh Allen, Kenneth Walker, Brian Robinson, Chris Godwin.
I know, but it's like when you use pieces in those trades to bolster another position, you're downgrading at that. So it's tough to find that middle ground with your opponent, someone that you're going to play at some point. So
yeah, and you just lost breaking news. You just lost Jimmy Garoppolo this week too. So
yeah, it's a rough go. I can tell because even the communication between me and Vice has kind of slowly gone down a little bit. And it's just well, what are we even going to do? We've won one game.
This is going to be a heated matchup. You versus Chad, projected 91.9 to 92.6. It's a freaking barn burner.
Oh, well, no, Jimmy.
You're right. So the plot thickens. Maybe PJ Walker will be your QB. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. What's that?
I said this weekend was fun.
Yeah, tons of
fun.
For
those of you who didn't attend, hopefully next year you can come. We do an annual trip to Eau Claire where we get stupid drunk and we watch football while we're all excruciatingly hungover on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday was rough. But it was also great. Gabe Davis sucks. Pass it on. So,
Well, his touchdown streak probably wasn't going to continue.
It didn't. Yeah, I went into the Sunday night game against Chad, and I was only up by 3 points, and I was against Gabe Davis. And Gabe Davis managed to still give me the W. Had to watch baby back bitch Justin Fields go ahead and hurt his finger. The Bears fell apart.
Emotional damage.
Jesus. I was talking to Kirill today, and I think me and him, hey, comment below if you think you've had it worse. But I think me and Kirill have had the 2 worst luck when it comes to injuries this year. So, Kirill lost Anthony Richardson for the year, and can't count the A-Chain one because he traded him away technically before he was fully hurt, even though he was hurt. He lost Jefferson to the IR for a couple weeks. I don't know. Maybe somebody else.
T. Higgins. He just got him. We'll talk about that. But
he doesn't have T. Higgins. Oh, now he has T. Higgins. But
yeah, we'll talk about that.
But he traded from hurt. Anyways, me, I've lost Nick Chubb for the year. Justin Fields is hurt. Jahmyr Gibbs has been hurt. Jonathan Taylor had this weird surprise IR move, and then he's still easing his way back. So I've basically been without true JT for the entire season so far. So yeah, injuries, they're a lot of fun. And this was a bad week for injuries too. A ton.
Yeah. It was brutal. I feel the pain a little bit, not in this specific league, but lost a lot of those guys too in some other leagues. I lost both my quarterbacks in the Wisconsin league that we're a part of. So luckily my dynasty team's still good. Still got it, baby. Still got a shot. Cross my
Got to have at
fingers.
least one league that's competent and cheering for. That's good.
Yeah. But either way, should we talk about some trades? We didn't have a lot this week. It was kind of a slower week. I think with all the injuries and everything happening, people they wanted to wait. They wanted to wait and see. And so we really only had like one major trade and then a couple like more kind of smaller ones. And you got $1 fab from your brother. That was a trade.
Yeah. Well, I won the Napoleon trivia question, mainly because of your hint about being short. But you imagine if we were covering a different league that like doesn't make 10 trades on average in a week.
We wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, these podcasts would be so quick. It'd just be a matchup review and that's it.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was definitely a quieter week. I mean, there were a couple of trades that happened last week too that happened post filming of the podcast, which I feel like is always going to happen. Because I think this one here happened like the night of our podcast, but the trade with Pat and Ben, right?
Yeah, that
Another
happened
power
actually
trade?
after we recorded.
So
Probably mid Thursday night game, right?
yeah. So Pat went ahead and moved Travis Etienne. He had stated that he was going to. Oh, it was actually on Friday because it was Friday the 13th last week. But he stated that he will be trading Etienne, and true to his word, he did. And he got Mark Andrews and Rachaad White from Ben. It's interesting because I feel like I don't think anyone really likes having Mark Andrews that much. I have him in, so I'm in 3 leagues total. I don't have him in this league. I have Kelsey, and in the other leagues, I have Mark Andrews, and I love having Mark Andrews. He's very reliable and good player. He hasn't really had any big blow up games yet this year, but I don't think anyone's really been that excited. He got Justin traded him to Ben, and then Ben traded him to Pat, and I didn't even think Pat enjoyed him that much this week. So is Pat happy with? And Rachaad White just sucks at football. He's not very good.
But if you're trading running backs, you almost have to include a running back. Like you can't just give unless you're just loaded, which nobody in this league this year happens to be loaded up on running backs or anything.
No,
especially with all the injuries. So, I mean, you got to include something in there. So I don't mind this trade either way. I would love to have Mark Andrews on my team. He's double tight end this week. Mark Andrews and George Kittle. So he's got two assets.
He had that last week too. He had Kittle, who was 1 catch for 1 yard, I think, last week. So,
yep,
not great. I bet you right now Ben feels better about this trade than Pat does. That'd be my guess.
I think overall I would prefer ETN.
Yeah, and like Rachaad White, you can try and spin it positive. Like there's better days ahead. He plays against worse rush defenses, but are the Bucs just in general going to kind of trend in the wrong direction? Maybe. I know next week, me and my wife, we're going to Buffalo to watch the Bills play the Bucs. I can't imagine you're excited to play Rachaad White in Buffalo. So I don't know. I think give me ETN, give me the best player. Yeah. Mark Andrews is good for 10 to 12 points a week, but you can play the waiver wire game and get a tight end and get you 6. So give me the star running back.
Yeah, and then we had another trade going on here. Justin traded with Dave. Justin got Brock Purdy and Devonta Smith and gave up Tua and Zay Flowers. I don't know how you feel about this. Initial thoughts are I think it's a pretty solid, even trade. Brock Purdy's been a solid fantasy player all year. Maybe kind of buying low after last week's performance, but he had no Debo, he had no CMC. The matchup isn't great. The Niners played the Browns, and the Browns have a really solid defense. They obviously won that game. So, and then I think Devonta Smith, again, kind of buying low, really hasn't had the performances that he was doing last year. But Tua obviously has gone nuclear several weeks already. Zay Flowers has looked like a solid wide receiver option. So I think this is a really even trade, actually. I really like this trade.
The more I think about it, I think this is a super savvy move by Justin. And it's a shame because I know Dave listens to the podcast, and I'm not sure if Justin does. So, you want to call out the people that listen to the show. But I know Dave loves Tua, right? We all know Dave loves Tua.
Yep.
The reality is to this point, I know Tua is a quarterback 3. He hasn't had a bye, though. Keep that in mind. Like when you're looking at what QB or what running back or what wide receiver, have they had their bye? Have they not? As more teams have had bye, that number of just player ranking versus ranking per games played gets a little bit misleading. But the Dolphins' offense has looked amazing. It's been great. High scoring, high affair. I feel like the running backs have benefited more than Tua has. And I just think Justin was able to buy low and sell relatively high.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I would take Tua over Purdy, but not by that much. And even though I've never been a Devonta Smith guy, I still think Devonta Smith is just the better player than Flowers. So I think it was a good move by Justin. It's not bad by Dave. Like he loves Tua, and
he has the Waddle stack, right?
Yeah, I love stacks, and Flowers is great. I had him everywhere, and I traded him away everywhere because I wanted to move him for someone else, and I didn't know if it was going to continue throughout the course of the year. Like the guy, but I guess I slightly favor Justin. We'll see what happens. And Devonta Smith returned to practice today. I was looking that up. So I know he missed practice yesterday, but he's back. So
even having kind of like a lower production year so far, he's still the wide receiver 32. So still kind of a low end wide receiver 2. He had, 1 or 2 weeks that he like really did well. And then the other weeks were very much kind of bust. But Purdy, QB 10.
Yeah.
And that was 1 week with single digit points. So
Purdy's just undervalued. He's a much better player and even fantasy player that people give credit to. So he's great.
Yeah,
he's got a ton of good skill weapons. He's got a good offensive coach. He's not gonna get you 30 points in a week like Tua can, but he's
that's
very
really true.
Solid guy to have, especially as your second quarterback.
Oh yeah. All right, we got one more trade. Pat did another trade, this time with Kirill. Pat got Michael Pittman, Mac Jones, and James Cook, and he gave Kirill Dak Prescott, T. Higgins, and Rachaad White. So he actually took the Rachaad White piece, moved it for basically James Cook. I think it was a really solid move on his part. What are you feeling about what are your thoughts on this trade?
Okay. I would say pretty much all these trades that we've talked about are fair from like a trade calculator perspective, or just looking at like equal parts getting moved. But so when this trade went through and people were like, oh, what do you think of the trade? I was like, it's fine. I think even Crow called me. He's like, hey, what do you think of my trade I made? I was like, oh, it's fine. Looking at it a little bit more, I think I really like this trade from Krill's standpoint, which also sucks because I don't think Krill listens to the podcast, and I know Pat does. So damn it, I need to start telling the people that listen to the podcast they're making great trades. And again, none of these trades that were made here are bad, but Dak is a superior upgrade to Mac Jones in every sense of the word or way. So Mac Jones might get benched. Mac Jones may evaporate into thin air and be absolutely nothing. Even if he doesn't, he's been basically nothing. Pat knew that because he traded him away for basically nothing last week. Then he got him back just to get a quarterback. Now I get Pat is usually thinking for the week. Dak's on a bye. Dak gets him no points this week. Let's flip him for a quarterback that can get him points. Okay, I get it. And I don't think does he have any quarterbacks if he didn't make that? I don't think so, because Dak was his only QB. Yeah. So for the week, makes sense, but living every trade for the week usually runs your team dry by the trade deadline. So Krill getting Dak is a huge upgrade, especially after he knows he's not going to have AR all year. T. Higgins is, that's where I was looking at this and I was like, oh yeah, Pittman for Higgins is fair. I'd rather have T. Higgins. If I didn't have Jamar Chase, like I don't want Chase and Higgins, but I'd rather have Higgins than Pittman. He's got a better quarterback and a better offense, and he's a better player. Give me Higgins over Pittman. James Cook is a better player than Rachaad White. James Cook is also in a situation where he never gets rushing touchdowns. And Latavius Murray had like a 50% snap count last week, and they like to split it up ideally 3 ways. As soon as Damian Harris went down, did they sign another old running back this week? I don't know. If they haven't, they will. Like, yeah, I'd rather have Cook than White, but I'm kind of ignoring that part of this trade. I don't think it's enough to offset the Dak and Higgins for Pittman and maybe a ghost in Mac Jones. So,
no, I 100%. I guess not 100%, but I do agree with a lot of the points that you brought up. Obviously, Dak is a much better commodity than Mac Jones is. Like you said, Mac Jones could be benched. He did get benched, but he could just be done. I don't really like any of the Patriots like passing options, so it's not like they have like a superstar that's going to kind of like bail you out. But I actually view Pittman and Higgins, I think, a lot more closely than you do. And I'm not saying that Higgins overall isn't the better player or is necessarily in a better situation. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a lot better than Gardner Minshew. Otherwise, Gardner would have gotten him multi-million-dollar, multi-year deals on this in the offseason, not been a backup to a rookie.
Yeah.
But I do think Minshew is better for Pittman than we think. I think that now that they are going to be a little bit more healthy and Jonathan Taylor's going to be back in the backfield, that's going to help Minshew be able to throw the ball more. And Downs and Pittman, I think, are going to be the beneficiaries. Now, I don't think Minshew's good, especially for fantasy. I have him on one of my fantasy teams, and I don't think he's going to be good. But I think he's going to be very serviceable for these wide receivers. And that's why Higgins, even last year, it was very boom or bust. It was, hey, I can get you 3 touchdowns and 150 yards one week, but then next week I might get you like 8. Where I think like Pittman, the ceiling isn't quite as high, but the floor is higher than Higgins, especially Higgins coming back off that injury. So I view him a lot closer than I think you do overall. But the big one here for me is the Prescott to Mac Jones. I think that's huge for Kirill. And like you said, this week might be fine. I think Pat makes a lot of trades that he really looks at the matchups this week because he thinks, we can go make another trade next week, which is totally fine, normal. He's done it. He's done it, and he's won a league.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's really even. I mean, getting rid of Rachaad White is huge, but a big downgrade from Dak to Mac.
Two final thoughts. To some degree, Dak has definitely underperformed this year. I don't think Dak has the ceiling that I looked at him coming into the year. I don't love Dak, but I hate Mac especially as a reliable option as the season goes on. Dak's not getting benched. He's going to be the guy. He's going to have low games because the defense is so good, but it's definitely an upgrade. Also, I've heard this argument a lot that Gardner Minshew is better for the receivers in Indianapolis. I don't necessarily agree across the board. So I think he's better when you're talking about receiving game for the running backs like Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, because he'll do more dump downs. I think he's better when you talk about a guy like Downs, who's going to do a whole lot of short yardage stuff. Yes. Is he better for Pittman than Anthony Richardson would be? I'd say no, because Richardson is going to have a better functioning offense. And Pittman, they used him wrong last year, but Pittman's a big, tall, like vertical threat kind of guy that you can throw jump balls to. And Richardson is a super good thrower of the football. He's underrated. His stats don't show how good he is. So I think Pittman would have had a better year, or at least equivalent year, with Richardson than Minshew. I don't think Minshew is an upgrade for Pittman. I think it is in other areas. I think as running backs too. Like it's not an upgrade for JT and Moss because they would have been better runners with Richardson. But so yeah.
Yeah, I hear both arguments. I definitely do. I just like the idea. I think Richardson's going to keep them closer in games, which I think Minshew's going to be in a negative game script a lot, and they're going to have to throw a lot. So it's going to be a lot of he's thrown 50 times every time he's played. So it's a lot of targets, which ultimately will equate to yards and catches in some capacity. So I think it's good.
The Colts are a better team than you're giving credit to. The Colts are going to be in a lot of close games. Here's their upcoming schedule. So they play the Browns. Okay. It's a good defense. Will Watson play? I don't know. If Watson doesn't play, there's no reason to think this can't be a close game. Then the Saints, they don't score more than 15 points a week. Then Carolina, they can't win at all. Then New England, they can't win at all. Then Tampa, they're not that great. Tennessee, they've been awful. Cincy, I mean, like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Vegas, Houston, they can, every single one of those games they can win. So this team they're going to be there. We'll see what happens.
Well, we can tell somebody's a big fan of the Colts and still has some pretty high aspirations for them moving forward. But should we get into the matchups?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to hit this button.
Weekly matchups.
I hope you guys like that drop. I had to search for that one.
That definitely didn't sound like your voice. So,
all right. So as usual, we'll go through my matchup, Mike's matchup, and then we will move down the list as usual. I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm looking on my app here, and you're like the next matchup down. So for me, I get to just like go right down the list, which is pretty nice. But
it's beautiful. You're
all right. So
you're towards the bottom of mine. So
okay. So here we are, myself at 2-10. It's been not a great season. But this might be a winnable matchup. Currently, I'm projected 91.97. I'm playing Chad, who is at 3-9, and he is projected 92.64. Chad has Jalen Hurts, Alexander Madison, AJ Dillon, Jordan Addison, Gabe Davis, KJ Osborne, Dallas Goedert, Tyler Algier, Derek Carr, and I have Josh Allen, Kenneth Walker, Brian Robinson, Chris Godwin, Michael Wilson, Tutu Atwell, Kyle Pitts, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Jimmy Garoppolo, who, again, we just found out he will not play. So I do have a couple options, though, that I can kind of play around with. PJ Walker, right? He could potentially play if Deshaun's a no-go.
He could, but do you know who was back and throwing the ball at practice today?
Do I want to know?
I'll give you a hint. His name is Deshaun Watson.
His comments were very up in the air. Like, he doesn't know if he's going to play. I don't know how much pain this guy's in. I don't know if he's just full of crap or what's really good with that. But that for me is going to play a huge factor. If Jimmy's out and I don't have another viable, like Treylon Burks, not only is he hurt, but he's also on a bye. Zay Jones, has he officially been ruled out? Listed as out. Yep. God, what a bum. After having a good week one, and then he gets hurt. Then he gets hurt again coming back. And Khalil Herbert, IR. You know, Lenny's not anywhere, but even if he gets signed, he won't really be involved. So we're gonna have to do something. Zach Ertz is not really somebody I want to put in my lineup as in the Superflex, but it might have to happen.
I do
Um,
appreciate you rostering so many useless and injured players on your team. That's it's good for free agency in general. So big shout
I
out.
mean, I don't know what's going on with Zay Jones, Treylon Burks. Like really, it's his knee. I just feel like that guy can't stay healthy. When he plays, he's serviceable. I'm not saying he's good, but 9 points.
Yeah, read the other ones.
So
Read the other ones. So there was a 9-point week because he caught like a 60-yard
I don't
pass.
want to. No, we're not going to talk about that, Mike. I accidentally looked at the projections and I thought it looked better than it was.
3-1. It's
Um,
Zach Ertz is the backup tight end for the Cardinals. Zay Jones is falling out of relevance. Khalil Herbert, I get. Leonard Fournette, I don't think he's invited to his family Thanksgiving this year. Leonard Fournette, nobody wants that bum. PJ Walker, I get hanging on to, and I also thought about this. You know how we start with your matchup? Maybe that's the wrong thing to do. It's really depressing. Like
I
it
like
doesn't.
to get out of the way.
Maybe
We get
maybe
out of the
that's
way.
what
You wanna
people want to
save-
listen to.
like you save the best for last.
Yeah.
You don't want to save my matchup for last. I'll tell you that right now.
Don't the people want to hear what you have to say though? Like I know I do because it's. And Chad has probably a better team than you, but it's.
I mean, there's some question marks. There's definitely some question marks. Very Vikings heavy.
Two Vikings heavy.
Yeah.
Against the Niners?
Viable play. And that's about it. And I don't even know. Against San Francisco, it's going to be a really tough match anyway. I think that's why I wouldn't want to start Madison. I wouldn't want to start Osborne. So I know their projections are 7 or just about 8 points each. They could be like sub 5 points.
I would
AJ
start
Dillon.
Madison. Madison's been pretty solid. I'd start Addison because you have to. KJ Osborne, I would not. God, I don't want to start Tyler Algier though either. I don't want to start AJ Dillon.
No,
maybe they can put in the vending machine, Claypool. He got to practice this week, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually really concerned about Derek Carr this week against Jacksonville. I actually, in another league, picked up the Jacksonville defense. On the short week, like you said, even if Derek Carr has a decent week, he's not going to throw for 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, Goddard's fine. Who knows what Algier is going to be? I think there's just like a lot of question marks, and there is a world where my team sneaks out a win, but I don't think I hit the median if that happens. You know what I mean? Like I get like 80 points.
No. You guys are both battling for 1 win. There's no medians here.
Yeah.
And Jerry Jeudy's like borderline droppable. You want to talk more about Pittman and the Colts because we haven't talked enough about it. Jerry Jeudy right now is rumored to be getting traded to the Colts. When he goes there, just blurs. Everything just gets more blurry over there. I hope that as a diehard Colts fan, I hope we don't get Jerry Jeudy because I kind of think I agree with Steve Smith. I think he's a jag, just a guy. Not that good. Your draft capital doesn't make you better when you're on the field. Sorry. So
no. All right, let's get into your matchup here.
Wait, who are we picking? We got to pick somebody.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna pick the upset. I'm gonna pick myself. I'm gonna pick myself to win. It's gonna be like 84-81. It's gonna be a really slugfest.
I'm gonna pick you to win too.
I gotta talk to Vice. Hopefully we can make some trades. Hopefully we can pool some of our garbage together to get somebody that's not 100% garbage. Maybe just slightly less garbage.
It's a good goal.
Clear up some of that roster.
Shoot for that.
All right, let's get into your matchup here. We got you sitting at 7-5. You are projected 100.29 points against Ben Howard, who has deemed himself the league hero. He is projected 87.34 and is currently 4-8. Mike, you're starting Lamar Jackson, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amari Cooper, Josh Downs, Wandale Robinson, Travis Kelce, JSN, and is it Tyson?
Just
Tyson
call him
Bag.
Teabag.
Teabag. I
Yeah.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
Pat's lineup over here. He's got Desmond Ritter, Travis Etienne, Antonio Gibson, Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas, Josh Palmer, David Njoku, Latavius Murray, and Danny Dimes, which I can't believe. There's got to be someone better than Danny Dimes out there, but it's so bad. I
He
hate
plays
Danny.
Washington.
I don't know if that necessarily helps the argument. Washington's very, very like up and down. It's super weird to like, if you look at their games, the Bears was bad, right? Like they were just getting blown out, but didn't they beat the Eagles or something like that?
No, I think they lost to them because Eagles were undefeated until last week. And here's the thing: is one thing they do is they always give up a ton of points to wide receiver, and because DJ Moore went off, AJ Brown went off last week. Drake London had a really good game. My hope is that Wandale Robinson, who caught 8 of 8 targets last week, is the guy that he's not going to have I don't expect a DJ Moore like game. And speak of the devil, Wandale Robinson's status has changed from questionable to healthy. Yesterday was a rest day. Perfect. Okay, so. Yeah, fire it up. We're going to fucking take down the Howard hero this week. By the way, this is not Pat. This is Ben's team. That must have been a Freudian slip there. But I'm just trying. I think it's Pat. But
well, that's my fault.
Jamar Chase is on a bye this week, but luckily so is Breece Hall for him. So that's big. These lineups can kind of change too. We'll see what happens. Like if there's no. So it's interesting. Both Foreman and Mitchell could be good starts this week. Foreman, I don't know if anything on Chicago is good, but Roschon is still not practicing, which is kind of crazy. Because like he got injured on a Thursday night game. People were thinking maybe he'd play last week because he had extra time. Now he's still not practicing. It's like, man, he really got hit hard. So Foreman might get 15 plus carries, which as a running back, you'll take it. Elijah Mitchell, who I think is the true backup behind CMC. I think CMC plays this week, but if he doesn't, that's a good start too. Fields, I don't know. He's just not going to play for a while. So Teabag may not start for me. I can't say that I'm very excited to roll this guy out here. Las Vegas isn't bad, but
you have other options, which is nice. I like that.
And I'm very excited for Gibbs. Very, very, very excited for Gibbs because I haven't really been able to enjoy having him on my team yet. David Montgomery went down with an injury, and I think he's going to be out until the bye. Craig Reynolds was back at practice today, but he's still the backup, and he's suffering from injuries. And Gibbs practiced yesterday and today. In the week where there was no David Montgomery, Gibbs had 17 carries, was a 60% snap count guy. Like, Baltimore's not a super great matchup, but and then next week, Vegas, I think we're going to see some good games for Gibbs here. So I'm very excited for that. JT ramping up his production. Lamar Jackson he got tackled at the 1 yard line last week. Otherwise, he has, got 23 points as opposed to 17. So Cooper seems like he can do good even without a quarterback, and Watson might be back this week too. Josh Downs just catches a ton from Minshew, Kelce, JSN starting to get more. Like, the team is headed in the right direction with the exception of Teabag. So I'm feeling good, which probably means injuries in a bad week is coming up. I really want to beat Ben's team and, DoorDash Desmond Ritter. I don't know if you saw that, but Desmond Ritter was doing commercials for DoorDash, I guess, earlier.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's probably doing DoorDash on the side too.
I was going to say, I thought that's what you were suggesting, that like instead of like in the film room, he's out there delivering DoorDash. And I'm like, all right, this is getting ridiculous.
No, Ben's team is reliant on Etienne and Breece, like his 2 workhorses, because those guys are very good. And luckily for me, one of them is not playing this week. So that's really good. Hollywood, Brighter days ahead. Mike Thomas, he's just boring. What did he get? Yeah, there he is. 7 to 8 every week. Last week was at 7. So
Yep.
Count him in for 7.
Flex wide receiver 4 option if you need him.
Yeah. And then his bench is like, he's got guys from 5 years ago that were good, like Delvin Cook and Julio Jones, but don't deserve to be rostered right now. Delvin Cook's getting out touched by Michael Carter. So, I should win. I hope I can. Will I get the median? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, heck, I could lose. I barely squeaked out a Gabe Davis victory against Chad last week, but I will predict me to win, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Pretty much on all points there. Your team, like, it has the star power, and I feel like has, for the most part, underperformed from what I would expect it when I read it off on paper.
Yes.
Like, Lamar Jackson has had not what I want from Lamar, but has had a very solid year. He's QB7 on the year, number 10 overall. Had a couple weeks in there. The Pittsburgh game, he should have had like double the points.
Mm-hmm.
There was like 10 drops in that game.
It's bad.
So he hasn't been there. Gibbs should be a lot higher in my opinion. Just wasn't really involved. I don't know why they haven't involved him as much. It's not that Montgomery's been bad and they need to get him in there, which I guess might play into that. Taylor, took him a couple weeks. Now he's finally getting more involved.
Took a couple months.
When Cooper has Deshaun, he's great. And I think the big concern was no Cooper or no Deshaun. He's not going to be that good. He was fine last week against San Francisco.
It's great.
So, I basically agree with you. Ben really does rely on the big stars, Brees and ETN in this matchup. But obviously, Brees is not there. But, I mean, he doesn't really have anybody that really scares me other than those guys. I mean, Ritter could be fine. He could be a Green Bay week. He could be a Houston week. But other than that, it's, 8, 6, 6. Washington, he was serviceable.
Ritter's had some big spike
weeks. He had 3 picks,
Ritter's had some big spike weeks. The DoorDash guy could come get me this week. And at least I'll have some closure after today's Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So after tonight's game, I'll know ETN and we know Michael Thomas because he's 7 to 8 points every week, but we'll know I'll know his biggest threat of the week and how that's gone. So
I agree with you. I'm going to take you as well. Does it show the median on here? It doesn't show the median on the.
I can pull it up and tell you what it is.
This desktop app sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're currently projected to beat the median. I think it's going to be close.
Oh, definitely.
The median, like I said, every week I've said it, is the median seems to be like really high. Last week was the lowest scoring week of the season so far. But before that, I've seen it at 109. I've seen it at like 112. Yeah, last week it was 96. Oh my God, app work. The week before it was 114. Then 103. So you're going to be right at that cusp. 112 the week before that. So I think you're going to be right on the cusp. I will say that you'll probably beat the median. I think the star power that you have, I think they're going to perform this week, and I think you're going to get the win. You're going to go 2-0 this week.
I think some of my players are under projected too. But the biggest, probably what will decide if I get the median is going to be Teabag, because he could be a 0. He could be a Mac Jones for sure.
Yeah.
He's projected to get me 9.5. If I can take 10, I'll take 10 points from Teabag right now if I can get it. Give it to me. Yeah, I will take it. I'm not confident in that one at all. So that guy could crush me.
All right. Moving on. Next matchup here, I have Kirill sitting at 4-8. Predicted 91.09 points against Erica, his wife. We got a little inter-house rivalry going on. Erica currently projected 56.55, sitting at 4-8. All of her Bengals are on a bye this week. I don't think she has any viable substitutes, but we'll go over her roster. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Isaiah Pacheco, Garrett Wilson, also on a bye, Tyler Lockett, Quentin Johnston, Gerald Everett, Zach Moss, and Trevor Lawrence. Kirill still rocking Kenny Pickett, Bijan Robinson, Rashad White, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Kadarius Toney, Sam Laporta, Roshan Johnson, and Pat Freiermuth. So he made that trade, but honestly, it ended up working to his benefit making that trade this week, because he doesn't have to worry about, I don't think, in my opinion, really losing this week. Erica doesn't have anybody to substitute for pretty much anybody that's really going to be viable, in my opinion. So no Burrow, no Mixon, no Wilson. Her backup is Ryan Tannehill. He's on a bye this week too. Kyler Murray, he's on the pup. Or he get activated. Did he get activated this week?
He's activated. He's not going to play this week, but
well, I know he's not going to play, but I was just curious if he was actually activated.
yeah, they started the 21-day window, so
okay,
he's coming back.
So, I mean, she'll be one QB, and none of these like bench pieces that can be put in for the running back, like Charbonnet really hasn't showed anything. Maxing out at about 5 points for a ceiling right now. I don't think we really have to talk about this matchup all that much, because Kirill should handily win this. I don't know though if Kirill hits the median. I don't think he does.
Yeah, I love seeing this matchup because it makes the odds of me hitting the median better. Kirill's team is not super great this week. Roshan's probably not going to play, which is odd. I really thought he'd be back this week, but him losing Roshan, he's going to have to go with Freeman or Mason. I'm not a Mason guy. I mean, he's fine, but so I don't think Kirill's going to have a good week. I think he knows he's not going to have a good week too. I don't think that's a hot take or anything. He doesn't have Dak and Higgins because they're both on buys. Maybe that's why he was able to get that trade done with Pat. So brighter days ahead for Kirill. Erica, this is kind of the definition of how to mismanage a team. You can't just wait until Sundays and set your lineups. You need to be active throughout the entire week and make waiver wire pickups and stuff if you want to. But I mean, she's 4-8, so maybe she just doesn't care. For example, Trevor Lawrence right now in the Superflex, will he stay in the Superflex and get locked in there for Thursday night? Because if he does, she can't move him up to quarterback. She has no other quarterbacks. There's no other quarterbacks in free agency, so she's just going to get a 0 there, as opposed to putting someone in the Superflex. Like, this podcast probably will not release until after the Thursday night game is already kicked off. If you're listening to this podcast, it is too late. I hope you've made this.
It will be very close.
I hope you've made this change. But like, if you just think, oh, I'll just set my lineups on Sunday morning, you got to be out there scrapping and trying to get guys. And yeah,
I've been a product of that already this season. In one of the other leagues, I left Craig Reynolds.
Yep.
And I didn't put David Montgomery back in, and I literally lost because of that.
If her people were not on bye, she probably had a better team than Kirill this week with Kirill's teams on bye. But you can't magically make you guys not be on bye. And the NFL's a little wonky this year with certain weeks having 6 teams and then certain weeks having 0. It's just, but yeah. So Kirill wins. Erica maybe is like the lowest scorer of the week. And part of that could be from lack of setting a proper lineup.
Yeah, 100%. I think we can just move on from that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up here, we got Eric, Big Catfish.
You got it.
Sitting at 9-3, having a pretty good season. First year in the league, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Him and Chad.
Nice.
Both first years, both different experiences.
And then it'll all come crashing down to earth next year when
9-3 and 3-9, like just the exact opposite. But
yeah, he's sitting at 9-3, 99.92 projected against Doug Dimmadome himself, Mr. Adam Briggs, 106.02, and he's at 8-4. So actually, we got a pretty.
Poppy, you know what this might be?
Am I gonna hit it?
Yep.
Matchup of the week.
I think that's it. I was
think
looking
it's the matchup
and
of the week.
these teams.
Initially, when I looked earlier, I saw my matchup, and then
Oh God.
when I saw that Jimmy was out, and I'm like, okay, that's not the matchup anymore. But it was initially in my head the matchup of the week, and then I'm like, probably won't be that.
I don't blame you.
This is the
I think
matchup.
your matchup is it's vital for the toilet bowl seeding. And it's definitely going to be a fun matchup to watch. But
Oh yeah, I got all Sunday off this Sunday, Mike.
oh, beautiful.
All Sunday off because the
Beautiful.
Packers play in the afternoon. So.
We'll have plenty of popcorn ready to go. These
All
teams,
right.
these teams are scrappy. They get wins. They have star power. Most of their star power were guys that I was wrong about. No, not really. Just Briggs' team. A big, you know what? Here, you go through it like you usually do, then we'll talk about it.
Okay. So over on Eric's side, he's starting Sam Howell, Saquon Barkley, Jerome Ford, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds, TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, and Cortland Sutton. Briggs is starting Jared Goff, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Jamison Williams, Cole Kmet, CMC, and Jordan Love. I agree with your initial take. They are scrappy. I really didn't know what to think about DeAndre Swift this year. Looked like Kenny Gainwell was going to be their starter, and then he goes down with an injury, and Swift took full advantage of that situation, which good for him. You know, I've actually always liked Swift, even when he played for the Lions. I thought he was always a really good player, and I was really concerned when they ditched him and they went for David Montgomery. And I was like, well, maybe they don't really think he's that good. And he's been wildly successful on the Eagles so far. DJ Moore, I had zero faith in the Bears. The only faith I had was in Justin Fields, as I did draft him. And I figured that was because he was going to run for 150 yards every game. So I was like, great. I get a little upside in his QB play, and I get 150 yards in the ground and maybe a touchdown every week, which is good for a running back. So why wouldn't you want that in your quarterback slot? But I've just never been a fan of DJ Moore. I didn't think he was going to help that much, and he has really overperformed. I don't know why I even have to talk about this guy, but Curtis Samuel somehow seems to always get it done. And I don't mean like blows up 3 touchdowns, 30 points, but he's like a 7 to 15 point guy every week. Like he's just a solid floor guy, solid flex option, wide receiver 3, 4, whatever you want to call it. He just does and gets it done. What are your thoughts on this matchup overall?
Well, my first thought is Erica must be psychic because she just put Kyler Murray in the trade block, and that means hopefully she will have this lineup situated and figured out before the matchup with hubby. So I'm cheering for Erica. Hopefully she wins. We'll see what happens. That's breaking news as we're seeing this hit live.
I'll get a breaking news drop next week.
Yeah, perfect. This matchup is really interesting. I want to pick Eric to win. One thing that he has going against him is he doesn't have a second QB this week. Bryce Young is on a bye. Briggs has CJ Stroud on a bye, but it's okay because he has 3 starting quarterbacks. So he's got Jordan Love against Denver. Yep, that's right, Denver.
Yeah.
Also, though, CMC, who is like probably the key component to Briggs's team, wasn't at practice today. So they played Monday. So the Thursdays are like Wednesdays. So it's not that big of a deal that he wasn't there, but it'd be better if he was limited. So I don't like Briggs's receivers this week. DJ Moore without relying on T-Bag is not great. Curtis Samuel, about time you got him in the starting lineup. I missed out on him by $3 fab. Otherwise, he would have been starting for me the last 2 weeks. But watch, now that he's in the starting lineup, he won't produce. And then Jamison Williams, I wouldn't want to start that guy. There's way better options.
You're hoping for a big play and a touchdown.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that every week, so it's probably not going to work. And
Especially-
Eric's got some crazy good star power with Saquon, Cooper Kupp, and Tyreek. So I'm going to give the nod to Eric, but it's going to be very like this could easily change if CMC plays. If CMC plays, I would pick Briggs. I don't think CMC will play, so I will choose Eric. This is a Thursday. That game is on Monday. Also, for Briggs, we may not know until Monday if CMC is going to play. He might be trending towards game time decision, in which case,
Do you
like,
risk it?
I guess he could pivot to Gainwell Sunday night if they know Sunday night, but I don't think they will. So, yeah, exactly. Do you risk it? I guess
Yeah.
you'll have until Sunday night to know if you want to switch to Gainwell, at least.
Now,
But-
this might be a little homer in me, but if I'm switching, I would not switch to Gainwell, number one. I'd actually switch to Jaden Reed. And then
Sure, but he plays
Wait,
at 3. So you have to pivot even sooner. I don't disagree with you. I'd start Jaden Reed over Gainwell too.
I just
but-
think more of the stack as well. So if a touchdown does go in Reed's direction, then you're doubling up on the points. And I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping for. I think the Packers have a really good opportunity here to run up the score on Denver, who's just been horrible so far.
Honestly, start Reed over Jamison Williams regardless. But yeah, like you want that flexibility to try and do it a little bit later. I don't know. It's match of the week. So, and
It's the
Aaron
match-
Jones is back against Denver. Nothing makes a hammy feel better than a Denver matchup. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, limited on Wednesday. Still hasn't put in a full practice. I'm still a little nervous about that as a Packer fan. Obviously, when he is healthy, he is great. But if he's on a snap count, it could be another limited session. I actually lean Eric's way a little bit. I like the star power. Tyreek could go up for 40 points this week. Cooper Kupp could go up for 40 points. There's 80 right there. So I just like there's a lot more dart throws on Briggs's team this week. Now, if Stroud's in, I mean, I guess I don't know if you would even put Stroud in.
You may not. So
The CMC is the big question mark. I think if he does play, yeah, it could go Briggs for sure, but I don't think he does either. But the no quarterback over here, it would Bryce Young really even getting that high points? I mean, 18 was his highest so far this year. I don't know if it really helps him out that much more than Cortland Sutton, but
I'd take Bryce Young over
the
Portland.
whole team is on a bye over here.
Mm-hmm. Which is nice though, because once you're past that, you're past it.
Yeah, you're pretty solid.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
Alan Lazard is worth rostering, especially on a bye or just in general. But and
Yeah, I
Breida,
mean, yeah, for sure.
I guess you're
I
just
think
hanging on to
there's
Breida
potential
the handcuff. But
I think there's potential for both of these two teams to hit the match or hit the median.
Yeah.
Just really it just really depends.
yep.
But all right, should we move
So your
on?
pick is Eric, right?
Eric? Yep.
Okay.
All right, next on the docket here, we got team Nick Seacott, 5-7, projected 82.95. Playing Jackie, 114.27. She's sitting at 7-5. Nick at 5-7. Jackie has Geno Smith, Raheem Mostert, Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, Jacoby Myers, Darren Waller, Ramondre Stevenson, and Baker Mayfield. Nick has Matthew Stafford, Craig Reynolds, Jamal Williams, Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Logan Thomas, Romeo Dobbs, and Russell Wilson. What are your thoughts here, Mike?
I can't remember the last time I saw a projection before a game kicked off be over 30 points away. That's kind of wild. That's a lot. I don't like Nick's team this week. I mean, he's got no Pollard, he's got no Montgomery, he's got no Derrick Henry, he's got no Nico Collins. Like his team is stripped down to the core. His team's going to be good moving forward, but this is the week you want to play Nick's team for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he still has some good players in this lineup. Like, I don't know if Stafford against the Steelers is really the matchup you're excited about because Steelers just tend to play more low-scoring games. Craig Reynolds, sorry, you're the wrong running back this week, buddy. It's Gibby week. Jamal Williams, God, what a great picture. I don't know what's going to happen. He's going to get. I think the 3 points is generous for a projection for him, and he's playing tonight, so that's not good. Like, I would drop Jamal Williams and pick up a better option than that. There's got to be someone better you can play. Yeah, it's a tough week for Nick. Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson, Ayuk. He's still got some firepower in there. He's got 2 starting quarterbacks, so he could get the median. I wouldn't bet money on it. And then Jackie's team, very solid. No one's on buys, like Gallup's on buy, but she's at full strength this week. So let's see, is Stevenson practicing? Yeah, he was limited yesterday.
At practice. I believe Jackie has the highest projected total right now at 114.27.
Probably that's a lot of points.
A lot of points to be projected.
I don't see a reason to pick again. I mean, that's why they play the game. Anything's possible, but Jackie's clearly got the better team here. And Nick's team is just not at full strength. So
yeah, definitely. If Nick's team isn't on buys or hurt or whatever, this matchup, like if it was a playoff matchup and you had both teams at full strength, it would be very close. I mean, Nick's only at 5-7, 7-5 for Jackie. I feel like both of these 2 teams have potential to make a run late in the season too. But it's just not here for Nick this week. Jackie put together a really solid team. Like, looking on paper, this is really solid.
Yeah, she did.
We were hoping,
and she was distracted for the entire draft too.
Yeah,
trying to take care of Peyton. So, breaking news: Erica has set her lineup, and she's still projected to lose 75-91. We'll see if she makes any moves. Like she can't be happy with some of these starters. We'll see if she mixes that up. Maybe she trades Kyler. So we'll see.
No, but it was good that she did put Lawrence in the QB slot. We talked about that.
Huge.
So,
huge.
Yeah.
Without that, she's got no chance. It just locks you out of another player spot, and you need that. So, okay.
All right. What do we got here? 2 more matchups?
2 more.
2 more. All right. For our next matchup here, we got Pat the Gritty Monster sitting at 8-4, projected 82.93 points. Playing Justin, projected 103.78. He is at 6-6. We got a lot of teams in the middle. They're all really close. Even the top to the, not to the bottom. I'm in the bottom, but top to the middle are very close. And it's just a couple wins or losses away from being bounced out of the playoffs. We got plenty of time to make up for it, but it's a tight race right now, which is good to see. Justin starting Justin Herbert, Gus Edwards, Javonte Williams, DK Metcalf, Christian Watson, Keenan Allen, Luke Musgrave, Devonta Smith, and Brock Purdy. Pat is starting Mac Jones, Devon Chan for now, James Cook, Puka Nacua, Michael Pittman, Drake London, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, and Devontae Adams. So he is also down to just a 1 QB this week, or every week. I forgot he only has 1 QB. What are your thoughts?
Couple things. One, A-Chain is in there. I guarantee you, just so that when he looks at his roster, he's like, "Hey, I got A-Chain. We're just waiting until that eye is gone. He's got some points next to his projection. Life is good." I don't know. We'll see. Jeff Wilson will probably be back this week. You're going to have more guys there, but he's so electric. He can still score points. But anyways, so I think that's just a ceremonial, like team captain or whatever. He won't be there. And the reality, too, is Derek Carr being gone. Hoyer, I think, is going to be the starter this week, so he will have a second quarterback. This guy can shift up into the Adams spot. But if he does, that means his team's his team's kind of out of whack because he's got 4 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. But running back wise, you want to start one of those Cardinal guys again? Like, you should probably trade a wide receiver for a running back or a tight end for a running back. And that would optimize his lineup a little bit. Justin over there, his running backs are really not exciting, just in general.
No.
His receivers are great. His QBs are good. He's got a good team. I say Justin wins. I say Justin hits the median. I think Pat can make it closer than it looks here. But he probably needs to make a play for the week guy, needs to make a move or two. And Mac Jones against Buffalo, dear Lord, he's got no QBs this week. Like,
Well, Hoyer again, right? But
God, he
and
should have
Hoyer's
ceremonial started Dak Prescott instead on a bye. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like Justin's team here quite a bit. A lot of these players I have in Dynasty and have kind of drafted them elsewhere in all of my other leagues. But yeah, running backs, whatever. If you want to talk about a 0 RB strat right here, it's Javonte Williamson, Gus Edwards, Gus Bus.
Yeah.
So
His running backs are boring, but they'll get him
probably be
points.
fine this week. Green Bay, bad rush defense. I think the projection is probably pretty spot on. But
Hey, you go look at Javonte's season right now.
I mean, it's not good.
No.
But
But
there's
neither of these guys,
team, it's the Packers.
neither of these guys will get him 0. So, and the rest of his team is so good that you just want guys to get you, honestly, 5 to 10 points in the running back spot is all this team needs. So,
Yeah, I don't think I do agree that Pat can make it close. There is a possibility, but Justin's team right now much better. I give it to Justin. Justin hits the median. I think even if Pat does somehow pull up some crazy upset win, it's because Justin's team doesn't hit the points. It's a really low scoring affair in my opinion. But
I hope Justin's team loses. I hope Pat's team wins because this team of Justin's is starting to look kind of dangerous. And I'm battling for one of the last playoff spots myself. I don't really want.
You don't like the competition.
I don't need. Jackie right now is not a playoff team either, I believe. I think she's just outside of that too. So this is going to be a heck of a battle. Yeah, I'm at 6. She's at 7. Justin's at 8. And then Nick's at 9. So, this is going to be a very interesting finish here. And kind of need a little bit of separation would be good because it's a very bunched up league there towards the top.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's tight. The fact that all the way from 9th place is still very viable. I mean, there's a world that your top 2 teams fall out.
Yeah. And maybe next week we'll do a little breakdown of standings, where teams are at, kind of give some thoughts on that, who to watch out for, who's going to fall apart, who's going to rise. We'll talk about that more next week.
For sure. All right, last matchup here. We have the league villain himself, David. He's sitting at 9-3, number 2, and he's projected 105.59. On the other side, we have Don, Mike's villain, projected 99.16. He's sitting at 8-4. Don is starting Patrick Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Sullivan Ahmed, George Pickens, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Michael Mayer, Christian Kirk, and Deshaun Watson. Dave is starting Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, Jonnu Smith, Rashee Rice, and Kirk Cousins. Mike, what are you thinking?
Is it possible to find a more unlikable matchup than these two squaring off? It's yuck. Dave has become ultimate asshole this year in the group chat, just picking fights with the elderly and everybody,
Shut up, Dave.
Taking canes away from people, and then Donnelly's just been vile since the day he was born. So, You got to respect. You want to talk about zero RB? It's not Justin. It's Donley. Donley has he's starting Ahmed currently, and it'll probably be Jeff Wilson. Maybe it won't. I don't even know. But every week he's just going straight to the waiver wire to get his starts. His wide receiver's been pretty solid. Pat Mahomes is underperformed. We'll see what happens with Watson. That's big for him to have Deshaun Watson back. If not, he can go with Dobbs against Seattle, which will give him, at least 10 points. But Watson would be a much better start if he's back. Dave's team looked better before he made that trade with Justin, in my opinion. We kind of talked about that earlier. I like Rashee Rice a lot. I got him in Dynasty. I have him in a different league. I'm a fan of the guy. He's not to the point yet where I want to have him on my team, but I don't really want to be starting him yet or having to rely on him to actually produce. That might come more after the bye. He's only once has he had more than 50% snap count in the year. And 4 or 5 targets a week is tough to rely on. He's been able to capitalize on some of that, but I don't know. I wouldn't want that start. I don't want Jonnu Smith starting. I know he's been good, but I still wouldn't be happy about it. Kirk Cousins against San Francisco without Justin Jefferson against the Niners coming off of a loss to Cleveland. That's not good. So, yeah. I think there's a chance that neither of these teams hit the median. Which is
the bad match.
Kind of a hot take for the 9-3 playing the 8-4 team. But is Debo going to play? I don't know. He missed practice today. So.
Yeah, I think I lean right now. Man, you're right. These matchups are not ideal. This is actually a really tough. Yeah, he's got to take out Ahmed, right? There's no reason for that. I mean, Pickens had 1 good week, or 2 good weeks, I guess, both of which came from touchdowns.
And Deontay's back now, so he's going to get less target share with Deontay being back.
I mean, Amon-Ra, bad matchup. Even Debo, does he play? Like you said, there's a world that neither of these two teams hit the median. I think Patrick Mahomes could bail out Don in the end. Just because the Chargers give up a lot of points. They kind of play to their opponent. So I could see that game being a shootout. And, we talk about Patrick Mahomes, kind of underperforming this year. He's the QB4. And he hasn't had a bye yet, but I mean, pretty solid across the board. Points wise. We haven't picked anybody. I'm going to go Dave.
I am too. I think it's pretty definitively Dave. I mean, obviously either team can win, but I don't think Dave's team is as good as it was before. But I think he can still get the win this week. Wouldn't be surprised to see that score being lower in general. But I will say this. One thing that is cool with Dave's new team is Tua to Waddle. And that Dolphins-Eagles game, that game could be a ton of fun. The teams are great. And if that's a high-scoring affair and Waddle connects on 2 touchdowns, see you, Don. That's game blouses. That's it. It's over.
Yeah,
We're also going to get some Thursday.
Dangerous.
We're going to get some Thursday resolution too, because he's got both Kamara and Olave going tonight. Don has Christian Kirk going. So, and I don't even know if Debo plays. And Don doesn't really have good pivots on the bench over there. So he's a little vulnerable. Yeah, I'll go Dave.
I go Dave too.
Okay.
Well, that just about does it. I think we did it. There it is. Kyler Murray on the trade block.
Come get him.
America, go after him, I guess. Comes back.
America, come trade for him.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this week's show. I appreciate everybody for listening. Again, reach out to us. Let us know if you want to be on the show next week. We're going to be doing an earlier in the week show, but I'll probably post it on Thursday morning for you guys. So either way, good luck in your fantasy matchups this week. And we'll see you next week. Peace out.
See y'all.